Is The Lost City worth finding yourself at theaters for, or would you be better off searching for treasures in the comfort of your own home on streaming services? That's the intro you wrote for this? So we're just not trying at all anymore. Okay, well, here's my review of The Lost City. This is going to be a spoiler-free review, so no need to tread lightly. We're not going to cover any ground that's going to ruin things. So we're just all in on expedition references in this video. Okay, Turnip. Your name's terrible, by the way, Turnip. You can change that. This film's got a solid cast. We got Sandra Bullock, we got Channing Tatum, we got Daniel Radcliffe, we got Brad Pitt. Kinda. Brad Pitt's not in it very much. You could probably figure that out from the trailer, but if you're expecting a lot of Pitt going into this, you're gonna be badly mistaken. He's only got about 15 minutes here. Sandra Bullock plays a popular romance novelist by the name of Loretta Sage. In the last 5 years, things haven't been going well. She lost her husband, and she lost her motivation to get out in the limelight. She's been a recluse for 5 years now, and she's just unwilling to move on with her life. That is, until Daniel Radcliffe's character Fairfax comes along and takes her on an adventure she can't resist. Because she was taken. Now it's up to Channing Tatum's character Alan to save the day, and lucky for her, he's the right man for the job. Because he's a cover model. This plot's silly, it's fun, it's engaging, it's good for a comedy. And this comedy thankfully doesn't overstay its welcome at only an hour and 45 or so. It doesn't hit that dreaded 2-hour mark I can't stand for comedies. They just don't have enough momentum usually to carry themselves. That's a criticism I have with Judd Apatow films that I really enjoy, but I feel like always needed to be edited down about 15 minutes. Now, I'm not saying The Lost City's better than Judd Apatow films. I'm simply stating I like the runtime length, and it does keep a good pace as it goes along. The jokes, for the most part, landed for me. There are some cringier jokes that last about 2 minutes too long, such as that leech one that's in all the commercials that I didn't really find funny to begin with. Although the audience I saw had a ball with that scene. They were laughing pretty heavily. I found myself snickering, found myself chuckling. I might have even had a belly laugh in this thing. There was no like laugh out loud moments nonstop, but for a time period when it seems like comedy's completely wiped off the face of the earth unless it's a TV show, it's nice to have a comedy again. It's nice to see a movie that doesn't take itself so serious or have to like step aside for a minute or two and preach some nonsense and just be funny and entertaining. Does it always land? No. But thankfully Sandra Bullock, Tate, short for Channing Tatum, they have great chemistry. I think Sandra Bullock has chemistry with basically every person she's ever come into contact with. She's just a delightful person. They bounce funny dialogue off each other. It does have the type of humor that's not as crafted. There definitely seems to be a lot of stuttering, a lot of jostling between dialogue. Whether it's intentional or not, I don't know. I did find that to be a little tiresome at times. Like, just get the sentence out. You don't need to stutter so much or kind of waffle on what you're gonna say. It is a more organic style of comedy, for sure. Sometimes, though, I like that tighter focus. I want those punchlines to hit instantly. I was very excited to see Daniel Radcliffe in this. I'm a big Harry Potter fan. I haven't seen a ton of Daniel Radcliffe stuff outside of HP. He's done a lot of indie films and just off-the-radar stuff to try to stay away from that big spotlight that's constantly hitting him. You know, I mean, he played the character for, what, 12, 15 years of his life. He needed to step away. I will have a video on what he had to say about Harry Potter coming up too, so maybe think about subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. I put out news and reviews and rants all the time here. Definitely would love to have you. Anyway, he's so good in this. I loved seeing him in a bigger blockbuster film again, and he nails it as this kind of jovial, nice, happy-going bad guy. He's not your typical British antagonist. He's kind of just along for the ride. He's like, hey, let's head on over here. This will be great. Even if you don't want to come and it's against your will, this is a fun adventure we're going on together. This film was directed by Aaron and Adam Nee. I'm going to go out on a limb and assume they're brothers. And I looked at the IMDb. It doesn't look like they've really done anything before this. Certainly not big scope like this for a film. So I thought they did a good job. For the most part, I think it looked pretty nice. They were definitely on location for a good chunk of stuff. There were some very noticeable, poorly done green screen moments, specifically when they were at the top of a mountain peak. It reeked of reshoots right there. They were clearly in front of a green screen, our two lead actors. But in other sequences, they look like they're in the jungle, they're interacting with things, they're going through the water. I mean, it's nice when actors can actually be on a location, which it seems so far separated nowadays. Like the Adam Project, for instance, I could just tell they were on a soundstage and in front of green screens that entire movie, and it does take you out of it a little bit. This was an action-adventure comedy that very much felt like a throwback to the 90s films. If you liked the recent Uncharted with Tom Holland, which I didn't mind, but I hated that it was an Uncharted movie because it has nothing to do with those games, this should feel good to you. This should be right at home. It has kind of a similar flow, but I do think the comedy's far better here. I think the action's more polished. We don't have the fakeness that Uncharted did. All around, I did enjoy this quite a bit. It's not like the greatest movie ever, okay? We're not doing anything polarizing like that, but it's a fun comedy. And in a world where they're missing, it's nice to have one back once in a while. Lastly, as a parent of a 13-year-old daughter and a almost 10-year-old son, I should say the film, I feel like it's probably PG-13, and I would show both my kids this, no problem. There's not really anything too intense. There's hardly any swearing. The violence is very PG-ish. There's some cool combat, but there's no blood, there's no gore, there's no bones breaking or anything. The sexual content, not really much there outside of Sandra Bullock getting a peek at Mr. Johnson. They don't show it. You just get to see her expression as she takes in what she's looking at for far too long. I don't know why she's making a meal out of it. Maybe that's something women are into, and I've been lied to my whole life. That's something I'm going to have to work through. Anyway, this was a good movie. Let me know in the comments when you see it what you think of it, if you have any desire. I myself didn't really have much interest in this. I didn't think the trailers were terrible, though. It was enough to make me say, you know what, I'm going to give this a shot, and I'm glad I did. Please think about subscribing to the channel. I put out movie content constantly. There's a notification bell you can click so these show up in your feed. And with that, I bid you adieu. See you next time. It's fine if you like the name Turnip. It's weird, but it's okay. Oh, you're still here. Hey, since you stuck around, maybe think about joining me on Patreon at patreon.com/AdamDoesMovies or becoming a member right here on YouTube via that join button. It gets you access to exclusive shows I put out once a month. Plus you get badges and just little perks, like the fact that I'll join you on Letterboxd if you give me your name. That's something, right? That's something. I'm also on Twitch playing games a couple times a week. You can find that at twitch.tv/Adam Olinger. I'm playing Fortnite right now. I'm in touch. I'm one of the youth.